About 45 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, we're going live now.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us once again for another episode of imPOWERED, presented by Cancer Warrior Canada Foundation. If you somehow don't know me yet, my name is Rebecca Durance-Hein, and I am one of the hosts of imPOWERED. I am a cancer thriver, an actor, and founder of Arenda Cancer Community and blog, and now, of course, I'm your host for this evening. I want to, like every episode, encourage you to participate by posting comments and questions down below, and we'll try to get to as many of your questions as possible before the end. So we actually have two empowered guests tonight, which is super exciting. The first is the incredible Anna Silgardo, and there's just so many things that we can say about her. She is the recipient of Mississauga Arts Council's Arts for Health 2019 award, which was awarded to her in recognition of the work that she has done as founder of AIM, Artists in Momentum, which is an organization that develops and conducts arts programs for mental well-being in the community, especially among new immigrant women, isolated and or marginalized individuals. She's also the chair of the Arts for Mental Health Steering Committee for the Mississauga and Peel region. And she's, of course, a talented artist herself. Working with several partners, she champions creativity for well-being in the work environment and community to raise awareness about the issue of mental health stigma and to work towards removing this stigma. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you. Wow. What a warm introduction. It's far too generous as far as I'm concerned.
It is not, I promise.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm very humbled. You know, I watched Navneet in her journey with cancer and the incredible things that she's doing. So honestly, I am very grateful to be part of this and the wonderful work that you, Rebecca, and Navneet, and all of you, what you're bringing a global community together online. And that's incredible as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. And our second guest is Dr. Colin Saldanha, and he's a family physician who has long been an advocate for marginalized members of our society, primarily in the areas of social justice and mental health as well. He served on several boards, including the Arts for Mental Health Steering Committee with Anna, and as chair of the Public Policy Committee of United Way of Peel Region, where he initiated a non-pharmacological approach to mental health. Dr. Saldanha was also inducted into the Mississauga's Legend Row and recently received a papal knighthood. Welcome, Dr. Saldanha. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And I want to echo Anna's comments about the great work that you're doing and the kind of reach that you have and the influence. It makes a big difference.
It does. Thank you. So we're going to get started just with a little introductory video that Anna sent us about AIM, Artists in Momentum. And it should give us a good overview of the programs and what you guys are doing there.
Is there no sound?
Oh, we can't hear it, John B. Yeah, we still can't hear it, John B. Sorry, we're having an issue with the sound. So maybe that's okay. We'll work on it and see if we can get it up at the end of the episode. And if not, we can post it on the Cancer Warrior Canada Foundation page for sure. So maybe just give us a little explanation maybe of what the video would have shown us.
Well, the video was a culmination of a program called Under the Shade. And it brought several women in the community, new immigrants, together, and they engaged in creating a community tree where they plowed the seeds of doubt, and they grew themselves. Like literally, it was symbolic of them growing and creating a shade for the community. And then they talked about their journey openly in Mississauga Central Library, in front of the mayor, in front of and these were women who were very shy initially and, wouldn't even consider coming up to a podium. But hats off to them. I salute them for their courage and for the wonderful way in which they came up and spoke about their individual journeys. It was truly very inspiring to watch.
Wow,
and Colin was there at that time, and it was just the power of art at work. Really, I have seen. I saw them over a period of a year, and I've seen their journey, and it really was fantastic to witness.
To see, that's wonderful.
Yes.
So let's then talk a little bit about you and your journey to become an artist, and maybe what inspired you to focus so passionately on mental health and the arts in general.
Well, I honestly believe we are all artists at heart. So our journey begins at birth because I think that we are the spirit of the artist is a very sublime thing that resides in all of us. So for me, it was a natural calling in life, honestly. I've always wanted to be an artist, and I always lived outside the box. I was a rebel growing up. And I think there was just a certain kind of freedom of expression with color and form and using a variety of mediums. And then, getting a bachelor in fine arts just kind of cemented my calling. And then from there, it just, it was just natural for me to encourage this sort of expression for myself and others around me. It was just, I have benefited tremendously from engaging in the arts, and it's just something that I just needed to share. So it's almost like evangelizing art. I am an art evangelist.
Yeah, I love that. I
really am.
Yeah. Well, I am a actor and a drama teacher and so I'm of course a big supporter of the arts as well and exploring your creativity. And for me too, it's something that I have to do. I can't not. It just, you got to express yourself some way.
Absolutely. I mean, I honestly believe, and I'm going to quote Albert Einstein. He said, art is standing with one hand extended into the universe and one hand extended into the world, and letting ourselves be a conduit for passing energy. Wow. So honestly, that's what art is. It's for me, it's connecting with my God, my creator, and letting his love flow through me. Yeah. And, so it's just, receiving and giving, so it's a natural flow, a free flow. That's beautiful. For me, that's what art is.
That's beautiful. It's a beautiful explanation and also a really beautiful visual too. Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah. And what about you, Dr. Saldanha? How did you, come to be so interested and passionate about mental health?
Well, that's an interesting question, but like a lot of my colleagues, we see a lot of that in our practices, and within the confines of my examining room, people express themselves in ways that they would not do outside. So there's a intimate bond between the patient and the physician. But historically, what has happened is that we've been trying to compartmentalize disease states. And sometimes depression goes across the board, just like you with cancer, or somebody else with hypertension, or with some kind of liver disease, alcoholism, all of those. So it permeates. And if as a physician, I can pay attention to what the person is really saying, either verbally or through their action, you can pick up. And when you just ask them the question sometimes, are you happy or are you sad? And it's amazing the pause that somebody will take, and then they will express themselves. And within mental health, there's a whole continuum from the very minimal to the very severe. And so when I was chair of United Way and we were funding a lot of organizations, I began to realize that we're giving them a hand out, and they need a hand up in some sense. They want to be pulled out of their misery, the depths of their frustration, and try to integrate other things in their development and in their in their recovery, it was so important. So as physicians, what do we do? You come in, you're depressed. Most people are constrained for time. They write out a prescription and off you go.
Right.
And I began to realize, you know what? There's so much more to that prescription that I can do and that I can minimize its use. And hopefully later on, we can talk about the science behind the depression. But more importantly, is when you have influencers like yourself and Anna and big organizations that can get people out of depression or at least minimize it, it's a huge benefit. The point that I also want to make here is that mental health does not only deal with the individual, but it has its consequences with the whole family.
Yeah, it's so true.
It brings everybody down.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where I began to have my interest in it. I've personally experienced it in my personal life, but we go through these cycles of, bereavement. When I lost my dad at a young age, or I lost my brother or my mother, these things happen. But do you have the capacity? And everybody doesn't have the tools or the intellectual capacity to get them through. And sometimes they're looking out for some assistance. And it's important that we in our community begin to reach out and recognize and see to what extent we can support.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with like a physical illness, like you were talking about, I think it causes us to be so focused on the physical healing that we kind of forget to think about or talk about how it might be affecting us on a mental or an emotional level as well. So yeah, we almost avoid those conversations too. So yeah, it becomes really important to start talking. Like you say, that's really a great point. So then how does Artists in Momentum fit into the mental health picture? What's your mission for it?
Well, Artists in Momentum, really, it works on a project by project basis, right? So, from encouraging emerging artists to showcase their work, and then developing art programs to run in the community. So that's, to bring the community together, because essentially what happens is people are, especially new immigrants, they live very isolated. They're very isolated, and to get into this mainstream of Canadian living, you need you need people who have had the experience. You come together, you sit in a room, and you share ideas, you talk, and then you engage in the arts. So so honestly, for me, that is really very powerful. Seeing how women, even children, they come together, and when they're engaging in the arts, they open up, they are in a safe space. So that's where Artists in Momentum has, not only in the community, but even at work. I have found that when staff members, I work for Bell, and staff members get together in a room, and they're engaging in making clay pots or drawing, there is a level of camaraderie that breaks down barriers. And it's amazing that these people have come back to me and told me, because of our art session, I was able to reach out to so-and-so in that department, and, so it clears the path. There is almost you build a kind of a relationship. You become a child again, almost. You go into your child stage.
And to pick up on what Anna is really trying to say, there's this whole new concept that's emerging. Not so new, it's nevertheless new enough. It's called social prescription.
Right.
In the whole concept of social prescription, if I can, and as Anna alluded to earlier so eloquently, that we all have got talents, inherent talents. But until unless somebody doesn't pull it out. So when I speak to someone and say, what do you really like? Oh, I'd love music, or I'd like writing. The problem with people with mental health and mental illness is that they tend to get isolated, marginalized. We need to bring them back in, show them they have creativity, try to search what their creativeness are and what are their traits and what are their talents, and then give them an opportunity to produce something along those lines. Because not only are they doing it as individuals, there's group therapy by people meeting together, sharing of it, recognition of their work. Just think people with mental illness, they're constantly being told, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And and I'm sure you'll come to the whole stigma issue at some point. You're not good enough. But here, when I can do something, I'm proud of it, I can express myself and then get recognition. And that's exactly what that event at the City Hall did with Anna. They were these young children of immigrant families, the immigrant single mother. They put their work together and they got recognized. The mayor was there, Mayor Crombie was there, people applauded them. And they felt good about it. And I think as leaders in our community, we have to give people the opportunity to show their best, encourage them to do it, because there's lots of out there and you feel good.
Right.
It's
and then they also
about self-esteem, really.
Yes, exactly. Self-esteem. And then they also know, as you said, sort of the group aspect of it. When you were describing it, Anna, I was thinking that it sounds a lot like my support group that I went to after I was diagnosed, because it was you don't feel alone, because you feel like, there's
there's so
this
many
whole
others.
room full. People, and it has to do with self-esteem.
And all these women were recognized at Queen's Park as well.
That's wonderful. That's really awesome. That's fantastic.
That was an amazing, a wonderful trip that we all, like little children, we all trained to Queen's
little field
Park.
trip.
That's awesome. It really was fun.
That's great. That's great.
So it empowers. Really, it is empowering through creative self-expression. That's what it is. That's what AIM's mission is. Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
So what kind of projects are you working on right now with AIM?
Well, right now with COVID, I am working on the Self project. I'm building my retirement toadstool homes. That's what I've been doing. But prior to COVID, I had just wound up a program with the Indigenous Network.
Oh, wonderful.
Bringing a 6-week program with the youth.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Youth, yes. And that's what was in your teaser. And I could not have done it without Bell Media and the talented staging crew who took my vision and created this.
Made it real.
Made it real. And then we took it apart, and then the children painted on it. And at some point, we hope that once all the social distancing is done, we can get together and actually recognize the wonderful, talented youth who did the work. And
that would be great.
Yeah. So that was my most recent project. And then I work with seniors too. I work with an organization, Monstrosity, and they send me out into the community to do art for seniors.
Fantastic.
So
wonderful.
So it's all about art all the time.
Fantastic. Sounds like a wonderful way to spend your time.
It is. I have found that
Anna's point is that the art has the therapeutic advantage of enhancing the recovery process, decreasing the amount of time required for the recovery or whatever it is, improving your self-esteem, improving you psychologically. And I think art, and whether it be in movement, whether it be in music, whether it be in paint, creative writing, all these various disciplines, they've somehow got to be embedded now as a process of managing many kind of disease states. And you've also got to start asking the question, what else do you like? What else do you do in your life? Yes, you go to work. Yes, you come home. Yes, you do your cooking. What do you do for yourself? What makes you feel good? And I think as physicians, we've got to start asking that question more and more and changing the paradigm. Because I think it's not art is just for the sake of feeling good, but there's some science behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Science. The release of endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, all of these things enhance your quality of life, the relaxation piece of it. So huge impact from a medical point of view.
Absolutely. I mean, I know that personally, I experience this all the time. When I'm feeling a little down and out, I go to my paints, I go to my sketchbook, I go and cartoon. This is what I do. And what happens is it engages all your faculties. And before you know it, you have created something. And as small as it may be, there is a great sense of accomplishment. But the thing is never to get into that state of self-judgment.
Yes.
Because then you defeat the purpose of creation.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
You should just let that free flow and be like a child. Honestly, for me, it's going into your childlike state. And I think that's what is the therapeutic part of creating.
Right.
It's enjoying the creative process.
Yes, the whole process.
The whole
Absolutely.
process from beginning to end, right?
Yes.
It's enjoying that process.
Yeah.
Just getting fully engaged in it.
Yes.
That's what it is.
So that kind of leads nicely into my next question, in that on the AIM website, it says that your art acts as a bridge from the heart to the mind. So I imagine that what you were just explaining is sort of what that means, but what does that mean to you? And then what impact do you think that has on, on yourself as an artist and on your work?
How art transforms a person from the heart to the mind, because I honestly believe that we are all, spiritual beings, honestly, so all of our emotions reside in our heart. So when we're actually engaging in something, it settles the mind. I feel, I'm not a doctor, but I can speak on a personal level what it has done for me. So it acts like a bridge. It's like all these little minions that are sitting in your heart. They climb up, they go up there into your head, and then they travel through your hand or through your body. You're dancing, you're singing, and you get to a place where it gives expression to my emotions. Really, that's what it does. So it really does act as a bridge. It really does. It links emotion
everything
and mind, and gets you to that.
Because place. I feel like sometimes we may be experiencing some negative emotions or thoughts or whatever, but we almost don't recognize it, or we don't know how to put it into words. Right. So I'd imagine that artwork or anything creative, I guess, that fills that same role for people, that it would do that. It would help you maybe realize or recognize what's going on inside of you a little more clearly.
Absolutely. I mean, I can give you an example.
Sure.
I remember a couple of years ago, I did a huge painting, and it took me just half an hour to do it. And I named it Fury because there was so much anger in me over some injustice that was happening in my life. And I just went there and I just threw paint, and, before I knew it, I had all these horses in just broad strokes coming out of flames. And, I wouldn't say it's like a purging. It's almost giving meaning and validating the emotions.
Yes.
It was an emotional piece. And at the end of the day, there was relief. I look at that painting, there was definitely a huge relief when I see what had manifest from my emotional turmoil right out there on canvas.
Yes.
It's interesting you raise that, because there are people who have gone through many traumatic events, post-traumatic stress disorders, and sometimes for them to verbalize their experience is difficult,
right?
Articulating it in an art form.
Yes.
And then you, as the observer, can see the anger, can see the anguish in that. And then if you can very tactfully engage the artist in trying to understand and perhaps show some empathy in terms of what they are really trying to express, you can get it. It's a non-verbal kind of expression of your inner thoughts, frustrations, anger, and disbelief.
Yes. And I imagine that would be very cathartic, for many people to kind of get those emotions, like a purging almost, like you said, right? Just get it out initially. Yeah. So
but
you were, Yes, yeah,
validate
validating that, like, now I
your
can see it. It's almost like it makes it real, right? Or it makes it, yeah, validated for sure. So you were just in your comments just now, Dr. Saldanha, you said the viewer can see that emotion or see that anger or whatever it is. To either one of you, how do you feel that artwork can impact the viewer? Can it be, you know, supportive of your mental health just to like view artwork as opposed to creating it?
I definitely think so. I mean, sorry, Colin.
There you go.
Why do people go to museums and art galleries? Now there's this Van Gogh immersive experience happening in
Right.
Toronto. People can
Yes.
actually go and feel, immerse themselves in the whole experience of a Van Gogh painting. But again, I cannot speak for others, but personally, I know when I go, I don't know what the artist had in his mind when he created something, but I can only go there and take away something from it, because you look at something and you see the color, the line, the form, and it does trigger something at the back of your head. It may associate with a good memory or a bad memory. You don't know how a painting will affect you. It's like a song.
Right.
You sing,
Yeah.
there are some good songs.
But Anna, very much to your point, I think the artist has to somehow either be there to tell you what he's trying to express, because sometimes you cannot see through it, or there's got to be some literature that you as the viewer should be willing to read to complement and understand. I was recently on a spiritual retreat, and there was this beautiful painting on the road to Amos, and it was painted. And when the priest began to explain the content of that picture, it just came alive. So very much that when the artist tries to, again, when you were at the Artist in Momentum exhibition, when those one of the little girls was talking about a refugee camp, and she showed little barricades, and she was trying to show how she was on this side and what life was on the other side.
Wow.
So these are very powerful messages that you as a viewer, and it's only when you try to immerse yourself in the mind of the artist can you really understand what they're trying to say. But that takes time, and you've got to interest as opposed to just moving by.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have to really, and I think that's true of anything that's supportive of your mental health, is you really have to engage with it. It's not something that you can do sort of on a surface level, because you won't really get the full benefits. So yeah, that makes sense.
But again, when the viewer tells the artist, and I'm referring to artists primarily here with mental illness, when you endorse their point of view, you understand their point of view, you walk in their shoes, they begin to feel good that somebody else understands what I'm
very
going
true,
through,
validating.
what I'm feeling. They begin to understand that. And that's a validation to a great extent. It's okay to feel that way. I understand the experience that you've been through. And so it makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. Yeah, for sure. So I just thought this was really interesting, something that I read on the AIM Artist in Momentum website. You talk about how plugging a person's creative outlet can have really tragic consequences for them. And I just thought that was very interesting. I hadn't heard it described that way. And so what are some of the ways that people end up plugging their creative outlet, and how could they start to, recognize and reverse that?
I think when people plug for me, it's a very personal thing. I lost my brother. He did suicide. And he was one of the reasons why I started on this journey of creating Artists in Momentum. It took me a long time to get over his death. And now he was the ultimate artist in my opinion. But remember that I come from a culture where, you're talking about the 70s and 80s, where a only male child does not have the privilege of getting into the arts.
Right.
Either become a doctor or a lawyer. In this case, my father was a chartered accountant, chief financial officer. Wow. I don't mean to be speaking ill of anyone here.
No.
This is the way it was.
Right?
So I saw, and in my brother's case, it was a tragic consequence. Okay, because I think it built and built and built and built. And at the end of the day, he had no other way, and his outlet was completely blocked, and he saw no other way out, and he took his own life.
Wow.
But there are other, not all consequences are tragic.
Yeah.
Every day, people who have that innate ability to create go to a 9-to-5 job, and they forget, they become closeted artists, and they never get the opportunity to give vent to that beautiful freedom of being the artist, letting, again, I go back to the Einstein quote, you have to let that spirit, that sublime energy flow through you, whether it's through dance or poetry or creating visual art. You just have to let it go. And one of the things is, it is fear of being judged.
I was going to say,
Fear of being judged. We judge ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
We judge ourselves all the time. And then what if we judge ourselves all the time? What about the judgment of other people?
Other people.
You're so scared to do something because you're afraid that, someone will say something. I mean, these are the things I think that are, things that can block or plug the creative process.
That's right. Yeah.
There are so many.
So it brings us back to that whole. It brings us back to that whole concept of the social prescription piece that I was talking earlier about. That I think the medical profession has to embrace more willingly, and the system has to embrace. And it's not only, and one of the things that we are trying to do with a conference that we're going to be having, what's it called?
Arts for Mental Health.
Arts Momentum. And we're trying to bring a variety of disciplines within the recreational arts field. And there's so many of our artists out there. And then trying to see to what extent the city of Mississauga, social groups, people like Bell can contribute so that every patient that goes through the system with mental health has access to the social prescription, whether it be in dance or music or creative writing or artistry, that they have that opportunity to complement. And I'm quite confident, and the literature bears this out, that if you use these other supportive measures in managing mental illness, the recovery is quicker, the self-esteem improves, family life improves, and the people are more productive financially themselves. They're back into the workforce and doing. So we need to look at it. The unfortunate thing here in mental illness is that we do not lay enough of emphasis on preventative measures. It's always, let's judge it by how well we can cure him. And I think if we can implement this and encourage this, and that will bring us back to the whole issue of the stigma associated with it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. In what way, I guess, why do you think there is so much stigma around mental health, and what can we do to start sort of decreasing that?
So historically, mental health has been, our society is judged by how great you are, the competitiveness, the success. And those that are affected by mental health issues and mental illness, they are marginalized, they're non-productive, not the kind of people you want in your circle. I know at one time when I was growing up, that if you had somebody with mental illness in your family, you try to hide that person away in a corner in the back room. You wouldn't bring them out into social circles. Right. So I am confident that as our community gets more informed, more educated on the issue, just like we did with smoking. Right. Look where, it was fancy. We brought in the media, we brought in the education, we told people the consequences, and we moved on. And now, so the same thing with mental health. It's just, what about addiction? What about alcoholism?
Yeah.
All of that flows into mental health. So the more education there is, and who am I to judge, is something that we need to talk about. Yeah. Who am I to judge? And when you begin to empower, it's okay. You've got high blood pressure, you've got diabetes, it's affecting that organ of your body, you've got heart disease, kidney disease. Okay, mental illness affects the brain. We can manage it, we can do things. So it's a process of education. And I give kudos to Bell Canada.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bell for starting.
Let's talk.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Do you know that just to give you some statistics, just 50% of Canadians would tell friends or co-workers that they have a family member with mental illness.
Wow.
Okay. Compared to 72% who would discuss a diagnosed family member who has cancer or diabetes.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. And for 42% of Canadians were very unsure whether they would socialize with a friend who has mental illness. It's again the fear factor. Yeah, it's a fear factor, right? Because you don't know, it's someone is not normal.
It's unknown. Yeah.
It's unknown territory.
Right.
So the only way we can break down these barriers is by talking about it.
Absolutely.
And then doing something about it, because you have to get people to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, how will they get help they need?
That's right.
And for us as average people, we need to know how to engage somebody with mental health. There was a huge crisis and a situation here in Mississauga where a man unfortunately lost his life because the capacity to manage people with mental health and mental illness, and how do you approach them, the language that you use, the engagement piece, these are important tools.
Very.
And focusing back on the stigma, I think we are on a continuum, but we are on a successful continuum.
It is.
And as everybody begins to take some ownership that I'm my brother's keeper in some sense, we will get there. And I think
it is a shared responsibility. Our community, it is not an individual's responsibility.
Right.
We as a community, we are responsible for each other. We have to care for one another. How can we do that? If,
and the school, the school environment, this whole question of being a bully, because he's not performing well, he's an introvert, he's got depression associated with multifactorial reasons, and people begin to isolate these kind of kids. And then they come to me, and then we've got to go through a process of empowering them, improving their self-esteem. It's a huge issue in the school system. Huge issue.
It is huge, for sure.
But having identified issues is one thing. I think we're all the conversation here, and hopefully your viewers will take away, is what can I as an individual do in this process? The embracing of people, the recognition, the respect that you need to have for people who may not at this stage of their life cycle be as successful as you are, or as competent or capable engaging in things.
It's being open-minded. Everyone looks at life through a different lens, right? So you can't use the same lens that you look at life through for someone else, because they come with different experiences, different emotional baggage. And at the end of the day, we have to be kind to one another. Right?
We do. We really do.
And we need to invest time, talent, and treasure. There's got to be investment in these in mental health. There's got to be investment.
There does.
And there'll never be enough, because if you don't treat mental health the right way, it's amazing. One of my patients, when I had this gentleman, he early signs of schizophrenia, and they came to me. I treated him. And the whole family was totally disruptive. I mean, he was telling them, let's get under the bed. The police are coming, this, that, and the other. And so anyway, I treated him, because by the time you get an appointment with the psychiatrist takes a while. And we stabilized him.
That's great.
And one day the daughter came to me with the mother, and they thanked me for it. And I said, oh, don't worry. She says, you've changed our life. It's where we are a family now. We can eat together, do things together. And they were thanking me. And I said, oh, don't worry. I said, that was just doing my job. And they said, you know what they said to me that no money can buy? They said to me, every night when we say our night prayers, we think of you and we pray for you.
Oh, that's so
it shows the impact that people can
One
have in people's
ripples.
lives.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what it is,
Beautiful
right?
story.
Making a difference one life at a time.
At a
And I'll
time.
tell you why art is so uh, helpful in this, because mental health, it's invisible, right? And art, again, is something
Makes it
that is
visible.
hidden within. So you got to fight the invisible with the invisible,
right.
So
That's right.
you got to fight you got to use the right tools to manage
That's right.
this. Yeah. So,
That's an excellent
and
point.
like Colin said, mental illness affects, is malignant, it's damaging, it affects
Yes.
families, it ruins families,
Yes, it can.
So
Yeah.
to talk about it, to get people to engage in activities that will improve their self-esteem, and it has a huge impact on the community.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little demonstration of your artwork soon, Anna, but quickly before we did that, I just wanted to ask one more question. I think that there's probably a lot of people out there watching, like myself, who don't consider themselves to be, visual artists.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips for people who are sort of, have never done art before and are interested in using it as a, self-exploration tool, but they just don't know where to start?
Well, they can reach out to me. There are so many, the Mississauga Arts Council is a great place to start. It's a community of artists. I'm sure if someone reaches out to them, there's so many arts communities in Mississauga. I'm just saying in Mississauga.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is for Mississauga because globally there are so many too, right?
There are, yeah.
Yeah. So, there are so many people out there who want to help.
And I just like to add, I'm not a huge, but art doesn't have to be expensive.
Yeah.
Right. Good point.
And I'll give you a point in case. My sister-in-law, she is not an artist. She's a self-made artist. She goes into the backyard, will pick up pebbles, and she'll paint on pebbles.
Yeah.
Oh,
A lot of
nice.
people do that.
She
Yeah.
saw a tree being broken down. She got her husband to get a couple of barks. He shaved them off, smoothed the surface. He started painting on these as little bookends. So it doesn't have to. Yeah,
Wonderful.
it doesn't have to be. You've got to be a little creative. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can use what you have.
Introduce it to you, Anna.
Yeah.
Especially now,
Yes.
that's what I do. I mean,
Yeah.
use what is around you.
Around.
You don't have to go
Yeah.
anywhere.
Right.
Recently, I made a planter out of a
Yeah.
oatmeal can.
Oh, great.
I use plastic bottles to convert them to toadstools.
That's great.
That's what
I hope you're going to put your website out so that people can contact you.
Yes, we'll put it up on the.
I will leave that up to Rebecca.
Yeah, we'll put it up on
Cancer
the
Warrior
screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, great. That's very good advice for sure. So Anna, if you want to get your little demonstration ready, and I'll just ask a couple questions to
Colin.
Yes, to Colin. There we go. Okay. So let's, you had mentioned at the beginning the sort of science behind depression. So can we go back to that a little bit and sort of, what is the science behind it? How does it happen?
So there's a suppression, there's a balance in our neurochemicals in the brain between endorphins and serotonin and dopamine. And these are the good ones. So in terms of conflict, your cortisol begins to rise. It's where your heart goes palpitating, your blood pressure goes up, your muscles are tight. So that's the role of cortisol and adrenaline. And then through the process of relaxation, you tend to get the endorphins, serotonin, and dopamine that causes, and nitrous oxide is now a new one that they've talked about. So you begin to get the relaxation piece into it. So calming effect has a beneficial effect on the vascular system and the neurosystem in the body, as well as on the muscular. So when we begin to just give medications to patients, we try to give medications that increase these hormones up. But you can only imagine that I would need to give less medication if in a therapeutic way, through a recreational way, I can augment those hormones. And so the role for medication becomes less and less. because medication by itself has its side effects.
It does. Yeah,
And
definitely.
I'm going to be the first one to say that it's not that you should not be taking your medications. We can supplement and augment them through other recreational processes that have a similar effect on the neurobiochemical process of increasing those hormones.
Interesting.
So it's a question of trying to encourage patients to engage, because a lot of the depressed patients are isolated, lonely. They will stick in a room. They wouldn't want to go out, wouldn't want to make friends, think they're going to be judged. They
Right.
feel lethargic, despondent, isolated. And those are typical signs where the endorphins are decreased. So physical fitness, music, just sitting in a class with music, with other people. So that is why I try to encourage when I was at United Way and now with Artisan Momentum, that it's important for physicians to look at the non-pharmacological methods of supporting and supplementing any other measures to manage mental health.
Very interesting. And so I would assume that like art would be one of those non-pharmacological ways.
Art in its many forms, through the paint, through music, through creative writing. Like Anna said, all of these people inherently, if given an opportunity, will let their creativity come to the fore.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Great. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, a bit more science behind why it all works and how it all works. Okay, Anna, are we ready for a bit of a demonstration? Okay, I'll just go full screen on you.
We are going to have some fun with lines. Okay.
Great.
So so I'm guessing everyone can see this.
Yes.
So this is something that it's called squiggle art, and all you do is you take a piece of paper and you I'm not going to use a pencil because I'm fairly confident on what I'm doing. So you just do a squiggle. Okay, I've got a pen that doesn't work. Okay, so you do a squiggle, right?
Yes.
Now, this is just a squiggle. You can turn it into anything, right? So in this case, I turned it into a face.
Oh.
Right. So here you can do the same thing. You can, you can draw an eye over here and make this an open mouth.
Right.
Right. And then you can draw ear and then put a hat. It's just having fun, Hey, this looks like a Picasso to me.
It does.
Okay. And then you color it, so really that's just a squiggle art. Another thing that, so that's one, you color it and then it looks something like this.
Right. Beautiful.
Or you can turn it into a cartoon, if you draw something like this and it looks like a wave. So, I draw a little stick figure who is surfing, and then, and then you do a cartoon and there's a huge fish coming out of the water. Then I'm going to eat you.
Eat you. Look at that.
It's just having fun. It's having fun with lines. So, this is what I say. The minute you start engaging in the whole process of creating, it's so fun. There's no limit to it.
But Anna, that's important that you say to have fun, because everybody thinks that art has to be perfect.
No, not at all.
No.
This again goes back into being a child, enjoying, children just have fun. Their whole purpose in life is to have fun, so we must never forget that deep inside. And that's what I think is the spirit of the artist. We are children at heart, we lose our child in the process of living and, living up to the Joneses and grabbing and climbing that ladder and, Kali, all that, you just have to have fun enjoy the creative process.
Be yourself, and be confident about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about that that activity or that type of artwork, the squiggle artwork, is that you can kind of just let your hand go and then just see what your heart and your mind in how they interpret it, right? And how they
but I must say
express.
something, Rebecca, that for me, self-reflection every day is a huge part of my journey. I could not be the person I am if I don't spend time in the morning alone with my God, weighing my limitations, my strengths, and accepting myself for who I am. I think this spending time alone is an absolute must.
Yes.
We must learn to love ourselves. And for me, again, I go back to that Einstein quote, when you connect yourself to, for me, it is my God. When I connect to my Lord, I get that endless flow of power from him to go through, come what may.
Yes.
So Rebecca, as your piece comes to an end, we bring you back full circle to the concept of social prescription.
Yes.
Where you sit with your physician and you can say to them, yes, I'll take this medication. I know it's going to work for me, but the physician should engage in a conversation. What else would you like to do? Do you like going biking? Do you like meditating? Do you like yoga? Do you like art? Do you like music? And if we get yes to any one of those, and they'll say, okay, now let's talk about how we can go out and how you can make you do it. Because a lot of these people with mental illness, they lack the capacity to take this first step forward to engage in any of these. But if you say, here, go to the Mississauga Arts Council or go to Parks and Rec and call this number up. And that's what I did with one of my patients. Get them to do an agenda or the itinerary for the day. Because if you don't give them something to function with, they're getting up at 11, 12 in the morning, and half the day is gone, then they're sleeping late. But if you put something together, a jog, a visit to the library, some artwork, some biking, it functions well.
Definitely.
So that's social prescription for you.
Nice. And there's also a self-reflection element to that too. Just knowing yourself and knowing what you enjoy the most or what's going to help you individually the most, which sorts of activities.
But that will only work for someone who is not severely depressed,
Yes.
That's when community comes into play, right?
Yeah.
This is when we care for each other.
Absolutely.
We reach out and help our neighbor,
Yes.
That's what we do. That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
That's God didn't make us to live in silos. We are meant to be to care and love one another.
Yeah.
But in the age of physical distancing and share,
And share.
You can share and be kind and compassionate and all those good things that we are meant to be.
That's
the spirit of God.
Yeah. And I think that the challenges that get put on our path, I think that it's through going through those challenges and getting to the other side that we are then able to help people. We're so much better prepared to help people.
Become empathetic, right? We have gone through it ourselves, and then we learn from it, and then we know what someone else is going through.
Exactly. Yeah, because you can see where that person is. You know exactly where they are because you were there yourself.
Yes.
And you know how you got through it. So which is really wonderful.
And I think for your volunteers, for your viewers, that they should take a pause and say, how can I be useful? Those are the able-bodied ones. And volunteer brings personal satisfaction to you, but volunteerism also contributes to the well-being of someone else, your neighbor, for instance.
That's right. Yeah, because when you're able, give the support, and then when you're not able, then you get the support. Yeah, wonderful.
Just
do it. So that's almost all the time we have. Is there any final thoughts that you guys want to share before we
didn't get any questions, so I'm you
guys did such a wonderful job of explaining.
Out there?
People are going to listen, reflect, and then maybe
Yes.
find the answers in the
Yes.
in what we have said. So
yes. Or if
hopefully.
anyone does have questions that they think of later, feel free to comment with them later on when you're watching. We'll still see those comments, and maybe we can
Wonderful.
send you guys an email and get you to answer.
It's been a privilege.
Well, Rebecca, I want to compliment you and Navneet and
Thank you.
all the people behind the stage for doing such a great job of bringing these important messages to the members of our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's an important step. Yeah.
You're
wonderful.
You're wonderful, Rebecca. Thank you,
thank
Colin,
you.
and thank
you for what
Yes.
you do too, Anna. You're an inspiration to a lot of us.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and I just want to thank both of you for being here and sharing your expertise and your personal experiences and your stories. I think it's been very inspirational for people and hopefully motivates them to take care of themselves, take care of their neighbors and their friends. And so if anyone would like to find out more about you, Anna, or your work, what's the best place for them to go?
They can email artists@artistinmomentum.com. Go to my website. Yeah.
Great. And what about you, Dr. Saldanha? Is there
I'm happy to provide backup to Anna.
Okay. Wonderful. And if anyone out there,
hold you to that, Colin.
Yes. You've done it now.
Yeah.
And if anyone would like to find out more about the work that I'm doing with Orenda Cancer Community and blog, you can visit my website at orendablog.ca, or you can find us on Facebook at Orenda Cancer Community Facebook group. I post a lot about integrative cancer care, a lot about mental and emotional health and how I got through my journey with cancer. So yeah, we'd love to see you there. And of course, Empowered is brought to you by Cancer Warrior Canada Foundation, which is an organization that's working to raise awareness about early detection and prevention of cancer, as well as raising funds for research. And they are also right now, in particular right now, helping families who are in need because of COVID and or cancer, or a combination of factors. So if you or anybody you know is needing help with things like groceries or healthy meals or sanitation needs, you can reach out to Cancer Warrior Canada on social media, or call the number that's been scrolling on the bottom of the screen this whole time, and someone will be able to get you some help. So thank you both of you once again for being here. It's been really wonderful to have you both.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Absolutely.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.